welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm Robert Haynes, your host and your guide into the world of TSM's LCS team. Well, hi everybody. I am I'm a little under the weather currently. Still, I don't know if I might just have allergies at this point, guys. Like, honestly, at this point, I have no idea. Like, it's kind of crazy, to say the least, that I am still feeling the way that I am. At this point, I'm not worried about it. Obviously, like, yeah, I'm still fine. It's just kind of crazy that, I'm still dealing with all this. So, hopefully, I will be good to go. Yeah, it'll be awesome. With that, I do have a small announcement today outside of my sickness, which I think you guys will be excited about. We are officially affiliate status with a notable brand that you all know named Dxracer. So, I didn't write this one out yet. I want to kind of feel it out for the next couple weeks maybe. But yeah, here's my little ad. If you're looking for a gaming chair, then look no further than Dxracer. We are now affiliate status with Dxracer, and Talking TSM members, you can get 10% off of your new awesome gaming chair from Dxracer by using the code TGH10. That is TGH10 to get 10% off of your next Dxracer. So, yeah, super excited about that. Make sure that if you're looking for a gaming chair, go to Dxracer, use our coupon code, get 10% off. Very exciting stuff. Almost as exciting as the week that we just had. It didn't start that way, mind you. But it did end excitingly. So let's get into this first game here. All right, Dignitas. Going into this weekend, we were 1-2 against Dignitas. So this was the all-important game. I say that semi-seriously. But this was the all-important game where it was time for us to prove that, that we were able to, beat Dignitas. Because we were 0-2 against them last year, or last split. We beat the new Acadian-led Dignitas a couple weeks ago, so we were 1-2 against them now. We needed to win out to have that head-to-head advantage. Here's how things went. In the draft, I don't really understand us banning Set. I still think Set would be a great champion for us. Really confusing to me as to why Set is getting banned, but whatever. I'm happy with the Akali ban. I'm really happy with the Lulu ban because you don't want to give Neo and Aphromoo, Kog'Maw Lulu. That would be an absolute disaster. So really excited and happy to see that we're noticing that. I think that's super smart of us. Love that teams are having to ban Nocturne and Viego against us. Ha! They're afraid. Was kind of weird that Dignitas banned Gwen. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know that we play Gwen. I think if anything, Huni will play Gwen maybe at some point, but TSM have not been inclined to pick her, and so a ban against us with her just doesn't make sense to me, other than I guess they're just afraid of being the first team that Huni brings it out on. So, I don't know. Strangeness, in my opinion. And the Dig draft, when you look at it, I mean, they have a lot of dive. They have a lot of get in your face. And, well, there's Silas. It's like we're just like, hey, we love when you play Silas. We love when teams do this. And I just want to say that we don't play Silas, and yet I don't know. It's like it's just strange to me that we can't play one of the, I feel like, easier champions to understand in the game. He's not overly complicated, guys. I'm telling you right now. If I can play him, he's not complicated. And yet we don't play him. And so we give him over. But then we have this last pick that we're saving for one of our solo laners because we already have the Viego. Or not the Viego, excuse me. We already have the Lee Sin, right? Yeah, we have the Lee Sin and the LeBlanc. And we can still flex the Lee Sin top if we want to. You know, we have options here, you know, between Huni and Spica because we have the Lee Sin. And we decide that we need more frontline, which is fine, by the way. I have no issue with that. But then we pick Gnar. Now, I'm going to get into this a little bit later about my feelings about Gnar overall. I will preface it with, I have no problems with Gnar in a vacuum. But we're not playing in a vacuum. And when you look at the rest of their team, there's a champion out there right now that's being played that fits really well with something like, I don't know, a Lee Sin, something like a Nautilus. That champion's name is Sejuani. And I'll be honest, I know Spica doesn't like to play Sejuani, but like you take that Lee Sin top into the Renekton, which is not a super great matchup, but it's a matchup that you can definitely play into. Or even, God forbid, they pick the Mundo here, by the way, into the Renekton, which is one of the best counters and something that we're very good at playing with. And something that can soak up all the damage from all their sources. And we don't. We don't. Instead, we go with the Gnar. And you will see, it's just, it doesn't make sense all that much. And I'll be honest with you, I like at first glance, I'm like, okay, the draft isn't bad. Like, again, by itself, Gnar, Lee Sin, LeBlanc, Kalista, and Nautilus, those are fine champions. But then when you look at Renekton, Xin Zhao, Silas, excuse me, and Ezreal, and Alistar, that's a lot of engage with a fairly low amount of disengage. So, yeah. But I'm like, all right, I have faith in us. We're a better team than them. We are. I don't care what the results of this game are. This one felt a little bit more like draft gap than us actually playing poorly. So we get into the game. Katie makes a huge brain play. His brain has never been the problem as to why he has not played in the LCS as much as he should. Or he would like to, I should say. And he skips the entire blue side to gank top lane. I mean, that's just so unexpected. That's such a smart play. It's a little bit of cheese, to be honest, just a little bit. But I like it. I mean, when you are playing Xin Zhao, if you get W second, which you certainly can, especially for clearing out raptors and whatnot, so you kind of need it at that point, and it helps you get to everything faster. The cooldown on it's still pretty high, but regardless, it's really interesting that he takes this path, but it's super smart. You know, I mean, not only does Hootie have to burn flash, he still dies. There's not a whole lot that they can do there, and they get a lead, first kill. But then, literally right away, Sword Art goes, I got this. Jumps in, gets lost a kill on Afromu in their own jungle. And you're thinking, okay, TSM are playing this really well. Like, dude, like, it's like Sword Art, just preface here. Preface. Yes. Prefacing the weekend. Sword Art plays like a madman, given the right matchups. And this is one of them. He loves this Nautilus and Callista, clearly. I mean, this. Okay, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'll talk about it later. Sorry, I get on these tangents because I get so excited. They get lost ahead. This is really, really important, I think, especially considering it's an Ezreal here. So, big time love of that. Bot lane 3v3 is so freaking close, fam. I mean, it's just so close. Lost is literally one auto away multiple times. The problem was he was rending. I want to say too early. I don't really know if Callista has something that shows you when you should rend or not. I couldn't tell you for sure. I've only played her a couple of times in my lifetime, so I don't know. But it was like, dude, the healing potions, the everything, just the Alistar heals. Like, it was just so close. And at 8 minutes and 10 seconds into the game, there's a point that all three Dignitas members have a combined like 40 HP. Or 400, excuse me, HP. If it was 40 HP, I would say, Lost, you need to just get in there and you better just hit your auto attacks. But, you know, he's down to 200. I get it. It's just tough against all three of them. But, oh my God, man. If he was able to turn this around and get a triple kill there, like, honest to God, if he had any other champion than Callista, I feel like he could so easily have just flashed in maybe or something and just gotten these kills. But it's just like, he was just this close. Doesn't end up mattering, but I like that Callista, that we're playing it, and you know, next we get Drake's, you know, basically prio on Drake's because of Rend. It's great, gets us that first Drake. Huni is playing top really smart. Very, very, I think you'll see throughout this weekend, he plays the weak side pretty well. And Bot was at one point like really far ahead. I think it was like 25 to 30 CS ahead. You know, he still got the kill. Yeah, like, you know, they got the assists and the kill on Ezreal, but whatever. The game's slow as per usual, but we don't really have a scaling comp, so I don't love that we were playing it as slow as we were. And then we're at our blue. They're trying to invade. You know, Huni isn't really in a bad position necessarily. He's trying to get his Narbar up. I think he's just trying to poke. And then Afromu just has the heroic entrance where he jumps over, flashing over as Alistar gets right on top of Huni. Nothing they can do when he's in mini Nar form. I mean, absolutely nothing. And their team is just a jump on team. They just pile on. And we have no peel. So they jump on, they kill Huni. The Alistar just lives forever. And Silas steals the Gnar ult, comes in, death. And there's just nothing you can do about it. Excuse me, goodness. And it's like, I don't get it. It's like you're looking at this comp and you're like, God, man, what do we even do against this comp with what we have right now? It's just bad. After this, it just kind of feels like we bleed out. We just don't do anything around the map. Nothing. It's like we shut down. And I've been watching in TSM Legends, like, Spica gets really tilted at times by his teammates. At least, and I don't think that he's like toxic or anything. I do think that they show him sometimes in a bad light in TSM Legends where he's complaining about his laners a lot. And he complains, well, we're lost at this point. Like, there's just nothing we can do. There's nothing I can do about it, right? I feel like there's nothing I can do. And I think that this is, I've brought this up in the past. I think this is partially just from him being young, but I want to see him grow up a little bit at some point. It doesn't have to be this year. It doesn't have to be right away. But I want to see him take more responsibility, right? Like, you're playing Lee Sin, and you've had little to no impact in the entire early game. Right? Like, it sounds really bad because, yes, I understand that they are in losing lanes in all three lanes. And again, draft gap was pretty big. Excuse me, pretty big. But, like, you're freaking Spica. You are probably going to be in the conversation for MVP. You think Blabber is sitting there making excuses every time they fall behind? Like, come on, dude. Like, just own up to it and make a play. And I feel like when he does this, the rest of the team kind of gets shut down because they don't try to make any plays. They're down. They just kind of bleed out. It almost feels like they didn't care as much about this game, which again, it's against Dignitas, but like, you should care about every game. If they win this game, by the way, we are still tied for first and have the head-to-head over 100 Thieves. Ugh. Anyways, in case that wasn't obvious at this point, we're going to lose this game. Huni positions too far up, and they just jump on him, and he dies, in the mid lane, and this is where I want to talk about Gnar. Again, in a vacuum, I don't have a problem with Gnar. I think Gnar gives you good advantages in the lane. I think Mega Gnar has awesome CC. He can be very tanky and stand in front of fights for you. There's a lot of things that Gnar is good at. But he is so unbelievably unreliable when he is your only source of tankiness, of being a tank. Your only form of team fight, CC, or just CC in general. Or your only form of disengage, which in this fight, or in this comp that we have built for ourselves, he is the only form of disengage. Nautilus becomes tanky, but especially early on, not very tanky. And really, our CC is pretty low outside of Mega Gnar and Nautilus. So you're not checking a lot of the boxes where Gnar is really good when you have all those other things already. But especially against a team like them, having the disengage. This is the one time where tank Gragas I would have been completely happy with. Because, like, think about it. When he gets jumped on over by our blue buff, you Gragas ult and you knock them all away. Right? Like, there's just so many ways where in this particular game, which you all know how much I hate Gragas, but in this particular game where they have all this aggression, all of these abilities to really be a problem for us, Gragas would have been a way better pick here, in my opinion. Like, they just, I mean, seriously, I guess maybe it's not a great matchup into Renekton, but whatever. Who cares? That's not the point. You're picking Gnar anyways. It's not like Gnar is going to be able to, like, harass the crap out of, especially, he didn't even go Grasp of the Undying. So it's not like it matters. Like, he's not going to have that early game advantage anyways. So at that point, you're playing for mid and late game. At least seems to me. And I don't know, guys. It just felt weird. I think the Gnar is a good pick for us. It has worked. But in this situation with all of these dive champions and with everything else, it just didn't work as well. And truthfully, Huni didn't play it very well either. I mean, he never had Mega Gnar up when we needed it. I don't know if that's necessarily his fault. I don't know if that's necessarily just the fact that he couldn't, because we can't predict when they're going to be engaged, right? But there's just something to be said about this pick. It just didn't work, especially when it's last pick. Spica gets picked randomly. You got to give over Baron at that point. And then he's in the bot lane. I don't know doing what. And he just dies again. Like, this is what I'm talking about with him. Like, it feels like he just stops playing when they're down by this much. Which I'm sure is very frustrating to the rest of his team. Gotta be honest. Luckily, he wastes a lot of time. And it's not like he gives up. It just feels like his brain turns from being this mega mind to back to a normal human brain where, he plays like a normal person. This kid is an MVP caliber player. But when his team gets far enough behind, when he gets frustrated, he stops playing as well as he should. It's just how it is. Power of Evil felt invisible this game. I like him on LeBlanc. I think that's easily his best AP assassin. Probably his only AP assassin that he plays. But I just don't even know, again, looking at this draft, who is he supposed to blow up? Because that's what LeBlanc's there to do. And who's he gonna kill? Who's he basically going to one shot, right? That's the whole point. Renekton? Excuse me. Nope, that ain't gonna work. Xin Zhao? No, he just ults and knocks you away or blocks a bunch of crap. Silas? Yeah, right. Never. That you will never get the multiple kills there. I like the LeBlanc into Silas as a counter in lane, though, by the way, because, Silas stealing LeBlanc ult is meh, whatever. But even Ezreal, right? He jumps on the Ezreal, unless if he literally hits the combo instantly. I mean, instantaneously. And he's really far ahead. It doesn't matter, because, Ezreal just ease out of it, or flashes out of it. There's nothing you can do about it. And he's not going to obviously blow up Alistar. So, there's no real targets for him. He's absolutely behind. I mean, he doesn't die until the very end of the game, and he only has 251 CS. There's just nothing that he can do in this game. He is not able to have any impact in this game. It's a massacre. We dropped to 1-3 against Dignitas, which is so strange to me for how good of a team we are. But whatever. A loss is a loss. Hopefully we learn from it. We like what we saw in the bot lane in particular. And we move on to Immortals. We banned Set again in this game, which is strange. Gwen ban I'm fine with. Again, we don't play her, but I know Revenge would, so totally cool with it. I honestly like the Jason, the Lucian bans as well, because I think, well, you'll see why here in a second when we go through our picks. I'm confused by the Thresh ban against us. I know that Thresh is pretty good right now, but we haven't really been inclined to play him very much this year, so I don't know if they're seeing something that I'm not. I guess maybe Thresh's ability to get the rest of our team out of trouble by playing back while they're playing up, but just feels like there's a lot of other picks for us to be able to play. Just saying. So I don't really understand the Thresh ban. I don't really think that would have been super necessary, in my opinion, but whatever. Yeah, I agree with the casters here, where I forget who it was, but they're saying, showing our entire top side of... Goodness, excuse me, guys, 1 second. Showing our entire top side of Lisa and Viego and Diana, is it great? No, it's not ideal, but, they're all flexible, so who cares? They still have to guess, is Viego going top lane? Is Lee Sin going mid lane? Is Diana going mid lane? Is, all these different things, and it's who cares? Doesn't matter. They still have to guess, and wherever they end up going, our guys are gonna be able to play it. Obviously, Viego is most likely mid. I don't think that Power View has ever played Diana. It's not really his style of champion, so I get it. He has shown, obviously, the ability to play the Viego, so, I mean, that's most likely where it's going, but we've also been known to kind of play some hijinks, switch some things around. So that's good. So I'm fine with it. I really am. Lost ends up getting Kaisa, which we know that he's very comfortable on. It's a good pick for him. It always has been. He's looked very good on her. The fact that she's back in the meta, as we talked about on Thursday, is fantastic for us. Or I guess it was Friday. Yeah, sorry about that. And then we end up getting Leona, which I think the desk makes a great point. I think Galio would be good. Obligatory Galio reference in this podcast. I think Galio would have been great. I totally get what they're saying. You jump into whoever jumps in the furthest, you ult them, and there's nothing they can do in a team fight against us with a Galio because all of our members are in. He gets off a big taunt, Diana ult, bam, dead, no matter what. Like, seriously, there's nothing you can do against that. But we end up getting the Leona, which ends up being great too. Also, just this is a future referencing. I think we could have gone Sejuani. I know I mentioned it up above. I think Sejuani is kind of in the meta right now, and I actually think she would have rounded out our comp really well too. I like Lee Sin, Viego, and Diana. And obviously you need AP, which is what the Diana is there for. But I think that if you put Sejuani into this comp with Leona and any combination of Lee Sin, Viego, Diana, Sylas, if we ever learned that, dude, you put Sylas mid, Viego, or Lee Sin in the jungle, flip-flop them, whoever else top, depending on the matchup. And then you have Leona Kaisa, dude, that comp would slap. Absolutely slap. There's nothing. Oh my god, teams would absolutely just cry. Like, Sejuani would be getting off freeze after freeze after freeze after freeze after freeze. And she would just be too damn tanky for them to do anything about it. Oh man. I hope that Spica understands that that Sejuani would just be so good right there. I hope that he would agree to play it, seeing how awesome that matchup would be. But obviously he wanted to have fun and play Diana, so whatever. That's fine. Dude, Lost or Sword Art and Lost had a good weekend. This play at the beginning of the game by Sword Art is just a chef's kiss. Just so good. So good. I love the aggression. Right? He gets in there. They get the kill. Tristana just has no chance, and neither does Nautilus, because you can just go right past him. Oh, the Nautilus stands in front. Doesn't matter. You just E onto the back line. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And Sword Art is just clearly like, I know this matchup. I know how to win it. This is what we do. The only criticism I have, because they do this again, with a gank this time, but the only criticism I have is that Sword Art gets 2 of the kills of the 3. And it's not even a real criticism because you can't completely control it, especially in the second time. And actually it wasn't a wasn't a gank. It was just the 2 of them. And the first time I love it too because Sword Art because Lost is like almost dead and Sword Art is doing everything perfectly to keep him alive. I mean, seriously, God, it was so good. And I'm glad they played the Leona. I'm just dumb, so just ignore me. Ignore me. I don't think the Galio gets Lost this far ahead at all without like flashing in, basically. This Leona pick was super smart. Super smart. Does it help the team fights as much? No, not as much, in my opinion. But does it give you a really nice kill lane? Absolutely. And this is the kind of comp that I wanted. If you remember, this is the comp that I really kind of wanted. I wanted us to show some aggression. I wanted us to show some early game. And this just checks all those boxes. Like, this play by Spica, by the way. When he's got his Giga Brain going, oh my god. We're watching this, right? And this kid, like, he's looking at Crab, he's looking in the top lane river, and he's seeing, Xerxes, I believe it was. No, it was Insanity. He's trying to clear out wards. Viego doesn't show top. Or Lee Sin doesn't show top. Viego, is showing mid. He sees the collapse, but he doesn't know that Spica's there still. Apologies. And so, he gets through this. And it's just, oh my god, it's so nice. Like, you're winning on the bot side, then they get the kill on Insanity. PoE is looking super comfortable outside of his comfort zone. Like, this Viego is not something he would normally play. But he's showing that he's got the mechanics to be able to play something like this. And I just love it, man. It's so smart. Oh, man. Then, the big thing here is they end up getting the Rift Herald. But after the kill. And I don't mind Sword Art roaming here. But, like, as the casters point out, Lost shouldn't get hooked. The Nautilus hook doesn't go through towers. So if he just plays under the tower, then there's no chance that he's going to get hooked. And if he doesn't, if they really want to pull off this dive, which they obviously want to, there's a really good chance that he gets a return kill on this and keeps his lead. But what I don't really understand is why Sword Art is in mid at all. Because, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't understand why he stays in the mid lane. Because it's like, that Lost is about to get dove. Right? Like, you can see it coming from a mile away. And I guess maybe they just were like, yeah, there's no point in going down there. I still think he probably could have made it. And if he could have made it, then why just stay mid? Like, I don't get it. Like, why even leave him at all when you get the kill? Like, the calls are so strange in that situation because it's like, Insanity's dead. There's no way that unless if Xerxes is gonna just, like, yeet himself into the middle while he's playing Karthus, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Karthus. After Insanity's already dead, and you know where the Camille is because you can see her, there's no reason for Sword Art to be mid at all. None whatsoever. Because you don't even need to fight over the rift. It's free. You killed Insanity. Camille's not going to steal it. And we know that Karthus is just going to farm. So I think that's a big thing of communication because I think if the Leona stays bot, they can continue pushing their lead. They can continue doing what they're doing. And there you go. Because, like, he's only halfway to Drake by the time that they get the kill on Insanity. So it's just, it's a bad play that I don't really understand. It doesn't cost us anything, and everything else has worked really well, but we got to be nitpicky when our team isn't playing well, and there are teams that would absolutely punish us for something like that. Teams that are way better than Immortals. All right. Moving on into the mid and late game. Sword Art's aggression does cost TSM. They overextend a little bit. Now they have no idea that all of Immortals is basically coming down bot, but they're trying to get vision. Immortals TP's in behind them. Obviously, it's desperate. They're trying to do something here, and it just doesn't work. But then, the rest of them are pushing top lane, and Insanity just TP's on a already basically dead tower. I can't even believe his TP gets off, but he kind of probably should have wished it didn't because then they get TSM just turn right back around. They get 2 kills, and Power of Evil just looks awesome on this Viego. Gets the kill. Then he, ults, understanding the game, and gets another kill on Xerxes. And it's really nice. It's so smart, man. It is so freaking smart. Really smart. And then, guys, Drake stacking is my favorite thing to do. And TSM already have 3 Drakes at this point. They are Drake kings this weekend, by the way. And I freaking love it. I understand that Drakes aren't as important as they were, in previous years. But it is such a great way to keep the opponents from ever having a chance to get back in the game. And you'll see that when we go over the C9 game. Sword Art leads a fight here in mid lane. Huni does die, but God, he has such a nice kick. Power of Evil just cleans up. We get Soul and Baron. And it shows that we don't have to play late game scaling. It's like we kind of played a small iteration of this in the first game, but we just didn't really play it right. Against Dignitas, it was pretty bad. But then it's like in this game, we're just like, yeah, dude, we're going aggro. We know this team is not as good as us. We are going to shut them down. Huni makes another nice play as we're pushing into the inhib. God, he is a really good Lee Sin, actually. Like, he's just so freaking aggressive, which is what you want to be on Lee Sin. And I'm sure good teams will punish them for it, but yeah, whatever. And, this is a nice kind of recovery game after the Dignitas fiasco, because I think if we end up 0-2 this weekend heading into the C9 game, I think that this game is very different, or this weekend is very different. So it was really nice to see us recover there and play as well as we did. But now we head into C9. Cloud 9. Quite the game. All right. Akali ban, obviously, every time. It's just teams should know. They shouldn't even practice Akali, honestly. We're just going to ban it. So, yeah, is what it is. Xin Zhao and Diana, I think, are great bans. It stops Labber from having the ability to make a major impact, which both of those champions do. And C9 had already been showing that, they had a good weekend heading into this game. They had beaten Immortals. They had beaten TL pretty handily, to be honest with you. And so, and TL had a rough weekend, guys. I mean, they lost to both 100 Thieves and C9 in pretty convincing fashion. So, yeah. Man, they need Alfari back. Whew. And Santorin, but I don't know when either of those things are coming. Probably not anytime soon. Anywho. Then they ban, and I want you guys to really think about this. I'm going to give you a second. Here are all the C9 bans. Dr. Mundo, Nocturne, Lee Sin, and then Jace and Rumble. Why? Now, I always point out bans, but why do you think... I'm going to give you guys 10 seconds here while I take a drink. Think about this. Think about why I'm really pointing this out. All right. Did you think? It's Huni Champion Ocean, baby. Huni Champion Ocean, guys. They banned 5 freaking top laners. Like, I love how the desk was like, well, the AP option in the jungle for Rumble. Nah, dude. They are banning out Huni. Guys, there's 5 champions. All of them, yes, I understand. Nocturne and Lee and Rumble specifically can be played in the jungle. I really do understand that. Even Mundo can flex into the jungle. But who has found the most success on these champions so far? Dr. Mundo played 1 game, Huni. Nocturne played near the end of last split, in the playoffs, and early this split. Exclusively by Huni. Lee Sin, I believe so far, has been played by almost exclusively Huni with a game or 2 on Spica, which we know he can play lead, but, So, again, we're there. Jace, only person who can play it on the team, Huni. Rumble, who's the best freaking Rumble in the LCS? Huni. Yes, can Spica play Rumble pretty well? Sure. Is that the way the comp was going? Nope. Nope. 5 Huni bans, guys. I cannot express this to you enough. This guy, when he is playing well, when he is playing the way that he is playing right now, gives us such an advantage just through the games and the way that he can play. Guys, if this was Huni of old, coin flip Huni, maybe you get 1 or 2 bans from him. Right, because he'll show you 2 champions that he's really good at. He'll play them in 1 week, and then everybody just starts banning him. But now when he can play 10 champions really well, not to mention Viego is still up. right? Not to mention, really Gnar. Not that it would have worked here. He can play an Ornn still. He can play. It feels like anything, except for Akali and Gwen randomly. But maybe we'll get the Gwen out of him one day. But it's just, I mean, there's not another ban onto anybody else. It gives Lost and Sword Art and Power of Evil and even Spica opportunities to play champions that they want to. And not just that, guys, but it also gives advantages to the coaching staff. Everybody on this team brings like a little bit of something. And Huni's ability to play all these different champions and everything is one of the things that gives TSM such an advantage, because teams have to ban these things against him. And it's like, even against all odds, or not even against all odds, sorry, but even against like whatever team they want to, it also gives you the ability to ban out what they're strongest at and what you don't want to face. Not what like, oh, well, crap, we're banning Xin Zhao, and that's like obviously right now the best champion in the game, and oh, it'd be great to have to make them choose between Xin Zhao and Gwen. But, Huni can only play the OP champions, or Spica can only play the OP champions. And it's just, they're starting to create this champion ocean that allows for TSM to just ban what they don't want to see. And not, have to worry about it being like, well, crap, this is an OP pick, and we could play it, but, like, we have to ban it, and, oh, I don't know how we're going to do the rest of this. Like, there's just something there about Huni taking away so many bans. I mean, what other teams are getting Nocturne, Mundo, and Rumble banned against them consistently? I mean, Nocturne and Rumble are almost banned every single game. And he could still bring out all these other picks and wreck people. I mean, Renekton even. God, I didn't even think about that. Gangplank, Rise. Like, I mean, his Gangplank we haven't even seen much this year. I don't know if he's much of a Gangplank player anymore, but it's just, welcome to regular Huni rant. Sorry. I can't express enough how much him being important matters. Like, seriously, guys. It's so important. Like, that's his big thing that he brings. Playmaking, and he has such a champion ocean that people have to ban against him. And you still don't have enough to ban. It's incredible. Spica obviously brings the MVP performances. Power of Evil is great at nearly every champion that he plays and brings such stability to the team. Lost just doesn't die. It's so important for an AD carry to just not die. And he's able to live and provide damage when necessary. And then Sword Art brings the veterancy and understanding of how to play the game and where to make the plays. Like, this is a true team performance from TSM. And I just love it. Continuing on in the draft. Giving Gwen is fine. Don't really care. Because we go Kalista, Nocturne, or Nautilus, and Viego. Love it. Great. We've taken what worked in Game 1, and we've taken what worked in Game 2, and we have combined it. Even with the loss in Game 1. Good stuff. Now, I will tell you, giving up the Aphelios and the Azir did worry me a little bit, but it comes down to comfort. So you understand, okay, Kalista, Nautilus, cool. We're cool with that. Them showing Azir allows us to flex the Viego top and take the Victor, which is a champion that obviously Power of Evil is very comfortable on. And it is actually our late game insurance. I think we were either going to pick Azir or Victor anyways, but it's a really nice late game insurance. I would like to see us work Rise into the rotation as well, by the way, because I do think that Huni's Rise is good enough to be able to be played, and I'm sure that Power of Evil can play it or could pick it up if needed. That's the only quip I would have as another late game scaling option should we need it. But overall, really nice pick here. The one thing I will say is that Trundle scares the crap out of me. I mean, he really can make us, he can make the Volibear and the Nautilus kind of useless. So Trundle's a really nice pick by them, by the way. Glad they picked that. I hope that they continue to. I hope NA learns the power of Trundle as somebody who is a Trundle abuser. All right, into the early game we go. No idea why Vulcan even feels the need to like face check at that point. Like, kind of a weird decision, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I know it's unlikely that we're there, but in the off chance that we're there, he waits so long because he's clearly suspicious, and then he walks up anyways. Lost getting the kill is amazing, and it's yet again Sword Art making plays. He was a major factor, if not the major factor, in all three of our first kills this weekend, by the way. All three. Now, they weren't all first bloods. Two of them were, but not all of them. And it's the champions that he likes to play. It's the Nautiluses, it's the Leonas, but it works with the rest of the comp this time. I feel like sometimes we were picking those and it didn't work with some of the comps, but this one, very nice. And I'm just going to say, guys, after this, the power of friendship may be OP, but the power of great communication is straight up busted. This call by TSM to have Spica come bot after knowing the Aphelios is going to want to push out, thinking that the rest of us went B, was such a big-brained move. Yeah, like, you know, Spica has to use Flash, whatever. I like him on the Volibear, by the way. I think it's such a good champion for him. And then, yeah, like, we're trying for this gank in the bot lane, and we force out a TP, a Fudge, because they realize that if he does not come down, TSM turn this fight around, they probably win it, and this game is basically over at that point. So, you know, Fudge has to TP to stem the bleeding. Yeah, they get a kill on Spica, whatever. Doesn't matter, because guess what? We still get the first Drake. We have a 2-wave lead for Huni as Viego, and he gets a tower plate in the top lane. It's absolutely worth. Next thing you know, at 12 minutes, Lost is 20 CS up. You just love it. TSM are doing stuff in the early game, guys. They are doing stuff in the early game, which is not something that we could say even just last week. Like remember our early game rating? I think we talked about this. Let me see if I can find this really quickly. Where is this? I can't find it. But our early game rating, whenever we talked about it, was like really low. I mean, it was like 31 or something like that. And in one weekend, and this is according to Oracle's Elixir, by the way. They do a thing called early game and then mid and late game rating, which I think is really smart. It's really cool. But, like, this is so unbelievably awesome. Our early game rating was one of the worst in the LCS. And I said, if we can just have an average early game where we're aggressive, we're getting some kills, we're not just like bleeding until the mid and late game, we would be one of the best teams in the league. And TSM went from the worst to fourth worst in one weekend because they put a focus on it. And that was massive. Because our mid to late game rating is still the best in the LCS by a pretty substantial amount in this rating system. We're the only team with a 20 or above. It goes 27.9 for us, then 19.5 for 100 Thieves, 5 for an Immortals, 1.8 for Cloud9, and then literally every other team is negative in their mid to late game rating. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And I think it's such an important thing for us going forward. And it's something that we've shown that we've been able to learn about the last couple years the last, couple splits, because at the beginning of the split, we had no early game ever. I mean, literally ever. Like, worst early game, obviously solid in the mid and late game. We never got first bloods. Now we get it, 3 out of 5 games, nearly 2 out of 3 games. We will have first blood. We're getting first Drakes. We're getting all this stuff. Like, we're just way better than we were. And I love it. Anywho, it's a nice play by Perks to get PoE, whatever. But Vulcan has to face check everything, along with Blabber. They're the only 2 semi-tanks. Obviously, Thresh gets stronger as the game goes on. But Oh man, he face checks this with Blabber and at the second Drake. TSM are prepared. Instantly jump on him, kill him. Again, power of communication. Busted. And it doesn't even take anybody from mid or top. Neither Huni or Power Evil have to be there. Bot side's able to get it. Amazing. Lost his 40 CS ahead at 15 minutes. They're diving the third tower. The inhibitor tower at 15 minutes. Sword Art jumps in there. He just allows the tower to nearly kill him intentionally. Like, seriously, intentionally. Lost gets the kill. They walk out. He's still got 400 health left. And it's because they know where everyone else is. Or are, excuse me. It's just a smart play. Just a great play. And then Huni shows that even with them barreling down top lane with this Rift Herald and everything else, like, he is able to play the weak side and still find success, which is something that he wasn't able to do. We talked about this. They were giving him resources, so many resources. This week, not so much. Not so much. He got basically no resources, and they still were able to have him find success on his own. It was awesome. It's a classic call, the ambulance, but not for me, but over by Raptors. Because they try to kill Spica. He just jumps out with his ultimate, and then TSM turn around, get a kill. They get the Baron at 20 minutes. They have a solid dive to take the inhibitor bot. Then they get a free soul afterwards. Then another Baron. And then when C9 are finally trying to turn this game around, which we haven't been doing great, trying to push things in. But that's just because, they have Aphelios who can clear like crazy. They've got a good team comp. Aphelios and Azir can just clear for days. The copium, by the way, from C9's social media team is hilarious. You guys should just go check it out. It was unbelievably funny during this game. But Huni plays it smart. He gets behind them. He's just kind of sitting there. They see the double TP. Perks is pushed out. He's alone. We're able to just go right back in. I do think that we chase a bit too much because Sword Art dies here. But, we still get the Elder. Because Spica's a god. He doesn't miss. He combines it with the Rend perfectly. And then, even in a 5v4, we turn around and we're like, screw you, dude. We're going in. And we just push in, take him down. We take a third Baron, along with 2 more inhibitors. But, at this point, guys, we're kind of late into the game, and Sven is starting to hurt. Now, I wish that we would have been more willing to take a couple of risks here, but I understand it's C9. We don't want to give them any advantages, so we take it slow and steady once we have the lead. But things were starting to get a little dicey. That said, we start the second fight at Elder, and C9 understand they have to fight. But we have everything up. We have flashes up. We have stopwatches and everything. And PoE is just a madman when it comes to zoning. Like the desk was talking about it. They're like, PoE is the insurance for the late game. And he surely was here. He zones them out. Sword Art ults onto Fudge, which helps get up an extra knockup. Keeps him not completely in the fight, even with the Gwen. And Power of Evil just melts them with his ult. And his positioning is just so good yet again. He understands Victor so well. You can just tell. Next thing you know, Huni's TPing top, and we win. Oh, it's awesome. We're now 3-1 over C9 in head-to-head matchups. 3-1. Big time. We still need one more win over 100 Thieves and EG to secure all head-to-head matchups against the top 4 teams. Obviously, the 100 Thieves one matters most. Dignitas and FlyQuest, they both have a 3-1 over us, which is funny. But we won't have to worry about them, either of them. So, whatever. 100 heading into next week, though, 100 Thieves is going to be real important, let me tell you. Also, we showed this week that we can play early game comps. It's a miracle. We can play things that do well in the early game, and we don't just have to sit back. Spend 20 minutes farming and hope to God that the other team doesn't just run right over us. It's amazing. Huni plays weak side all weekend and still has a major impact in these last 2 games. Absolutely outstanding for us. And even in the first game, he wasn't bad. Just the rest of the team kind of sucked, and the Gnar pick wasn't good. Don't know if he made that call or not, but Whoever did. Ugh. And then this was the kind of a weekend that Lost needed. He is still making some pretty bad positional errors, to be honest with you. But his kill participation went up by 4% in one weekend, which is a lot. He's now top 4 in KDA in the LCS. His laning stats, specifically his gold and XP, are now middle of the pack. His CS per minute is still one of the lowest in the league, which is kind of bad considering he doesn't play Senna. He did, I think once or twice, but still, so did FBI, and his is still really high. He's got to work on that. Majorly needs to be able to CS better. But he's also no longer last in damage per minute. Second last, but all of his stats went up very substantially because we put some time into him. We gave him the opportunity to do some things. Is he your main carry? No. Huni, Power, Vivo, or Speaker are going to make you plays. Sword Art's going to make you plays too. But if you give Lost resources, he won't squander them. He will still make plays. And I'm really proud of him. I think this was huge for him. And I think we should all be proud of him. Seriously. I mean, it's a big deal what he did. My MVP for this weekend, Sword Art. I know a lot of you have been worrying. A lot of you have been saying, oh, Rob, you're too hard on Sword Art. And I get it. And by the way, this is not me calling you out. I love that kind of feedback because it made me look a lot more closely at Sword Art. It did. It made me look at him like, okay, what am I missing? What do I need to be paying more attention to? And you guys were right. I was missing some stuff. I was being overly critical to a certain degree. I still think he made some pretty bad plays, especially when he was playing the old Tom Kench, but whatever. This weekend, Sword Art was the MVP. He was able to have a major impact in every game. The Nautilus was great. The Leona was great. We've seen him on a Lulu that's looked good. The boy is... This is the first first weekend where I felt like he and Lost were completely on the same page. Just really good for him. Super good. And it shows that we have a bot. Guys, we have a bot that can do 2v2s. We showed a different style this weekend. And if I'm the rest of the LCS, I am scared to death. I don't care if it's 100 Thieves this, 100 Thieves that. Yeah, they're a good team. Don't get me wrong. They are. They are a very good team. But when we play them this weekend, they should be like, well, I hope that we can figure out which style they're going to play ahead of time. Because if you try to prepare for both, you're going to be splitting your attention, and TSM will take advantage of it. And I can guarantee you, because they have done this against C9 and TL the last 2 times they've played them. Now, they haven't played 100 Thieves in a while. And they lost last time pretty handily. So this is at the very tail end of the second round robin. But I'm going to tell you right now. You listen up, 100 Thieves. We're going to pull something out that you're not expecting. We will. And they better do their best to prepare for it. As much as you can prepare for something unexpected. Because we're coming. Because if we win on Sunday against them, we will likely be at least tied with them. And we will have the 3-1 head-to-head matchup over them. And that means that as long as we can stay even with them throughout the rest of the split, which we'll get another chance at them, and that means that we have our best chance of going into the playoffs as the number 1 seed. Which, by the way, we've locked in playoffs. We are officially in playoffs, no matter what. Yay us. Not that that's a huge surprise. I mean, that would have been nearly impossible for us to have missed playoffs at this point. But hey, we're 11-4. After going 12-6, the split before, this is great. This is really, really good. And teams should be scared to death to play us right now. Because C9, TL, to be honest with you guys, you're not looking good enough to beat us right now. You're not. Only team left for us to hurdle is 100 Thieves. And we're showing why keeping the team together works. This feels good. So much more to say, but not enough time, and still feeling a little under the weather. Sorry for all the bodily noises I've had to make this podcast. My body is not super sick. I don't feel overly sick. It's just this cough and stuff is driving me nuts. Anyways, I want to check in my question to you guys for this week, and I'd love to hear from everybody if you are in the Talking TSM Discord or if you are in, wherever you're at. I don't know if you're listening to me somewhere else. I just want to see how you guys are feeling about this 27 game schedule. We would normally have 3 games left in the regular season in a normal split. So, yeah, big time stuff. Because we still have all this time left to figure things out, and I kind of like it. I mean, so do other teams, but whatever. I don't care. We're 15 games into a 27-game schedule. We're fully past the halfway mark now, and I'm feeling great. It's just big stuff. And I personally am loving this 27-game schedule. I think there's so much more for us to still figure out before playoffs. I think there's time for us to really assert our dominance. I think we can go on a run. I think we could finish this split at, what would that be? So we have 12 games left. I think we drop 2 max. So that would make us 21-6 and 33-12 for the year. That's pretty good, guys. That's pretty freaking good. There's a chance we go on a run. There really is. I could see us winning out. If we lose another game, it's probably going to be the 100th use. And maybe TL or C9 figure it out at some point. At this point, it just doesn't feel like Alfari's ready to come back, or he doesn't really care to come back. I don't know which one, but yeah. Things are going well for us, fam. Very happy about it. All right. Thanks for listening. If you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment if you're watching on our YouTube channel. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss another episode. Also, I want to make this the #1 TSM podcast on all podcasting platforms. If you feel so inclined, please leave a review, especially if you're listening on Apple. That would be extremely appreciated. Please share this with your friends. You can find me on Twitter at TGHRobertHaynes or our Gamehouse Twitter at TGH Esports. Lastly, head to thegamehouse.com. Check out all of our LCS coverage, all of our sports coverage, all of our esports coverage as a whole, and see what's going down in your favorite teams or favorite sports worlds. And with that, thanks for bearing with me these last couple days, these last couple weeks. The show comes out every Monday and Thursday, and it's still exclusively for your TSM ear holes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See you on Thursday.